You're listening to North Georgia Business Radio. I'm your host, Bo Henderson, and this is the place where we highlight our local businesses and the people who run them. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Bill Lampton, but let's jump right in to our first guest, Stacey Reece, the owner of Spherion Staffing and Recruiting. Welcome to the show, Stacey.
Great to be here.
Tell us, please, I would imagine some of our listeners might not be familiar with the words Spherion. What does that mean? Where does it come from?
Well, Spherion means many pieces coming together, and it's a manufactured name. We are part of a franchise that's a nationwide franchise group, and over 20 years ago, we rebranded under the name Spherion because we wanted something to express more of what we do, and that is pull many pieces together between our clients, our candidates, our applicants, and our employees.
Well, why would a company want to use a recruiting firm to begin with?
Well, a lot of people ask that question mainly because most all companies have a human resource department that one of the primary functions of human resources is recruiting. Over the years, the importance of that human resource function of a company has really escalated. Payroll, benefits, legal from an employment law standpoint.
So they've got plenty more to do.
They've got a lot more to do than to go out and try to bring in 30, 40, 50 people for a couple of positions and go through all of those resumes, do the application process. So we actually become a strategic partner with our clients by offloading a lot of that entry-level point of hiring. So if a, say, manufacturer has assembly positions that they're needing to add, they might come to us and have us hire 20 people, but we might have to interview close to 50, 60 people to be able to supply them with the 20 individuals they need to complete their project.
So this is very effective and economical and time-saving outsourcing on their part.
It is. Also to the point that they have now, many of our clients are letting us hire management positions, doing the recruiting for C-level positions. So what started out years ago largely as recruiting for entry-level, lower-skilled positions has now translated into hiring more highly skilled positions.
Bo, I know you'd like to get in on this conversation.
Well, Stacey, one of the questions that I think is important for us to address is I know things have changed a lot over the years in your industry, and people might have ideas of what a staffing business does. Let's just talk a little bit about that and maybe what people think you do. You've seen those memes. This is what people think I do. This is what we actually do, kind of thing.
Right. If you go back 30 years ago, most staffing companies at that time period were referred to as temporary services. So say someone might have someone going out on medical leave, someone might be taking an extended vacation, they might have a resignation and they're not sure if they want to hire back for that position. But
maternity leave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, medical leave today is what we call those.
Yeah.
So they would call a temp agency and have someone sent over for 2 or 3 weeks that would take care of that position. Today, from a staffing standpoint, clients actually hire us and say often, we want 10% of our workforce to be flexible staffing, so we want Spherion to manage that 10% of our workforce. Well, if they employ hundreds of people, we're talking about 30, 40, 50 temporaries that we have to have available, trained at all times to do their function. And they find that valuable to their organization because in the event that maybe a contract gets canceled or something goes wrong in the economy, then they're able to make adjustments by having me take my numbers down, but then I can put the people to work somewhere else. Therefore, clients often use us to make sure they don't have to do layoffs.
Well, another question I had, you think about applying for a job or looking for a candidate, we think about resumes. Does that still have the same value and carry the same weight as maybe it once did?
Well, one of the greatest complaints we get from our candidates, our applicants that we're recruiting, is that so many companies, even small companies this day and time, do online applications. They feel it's very impersonal. They go online, they may fill out an hour's worth of paperwork and assessments and never even get anything but an auto reply back saying we've received your application. They feel it's impersonal because at least in the old days when you had to take your resume around, drop it off, you got to speak to someone, you got to have some basic discussion, and it did usually lead to you being able to sell yourself for an interview. Now, looking around this table, I see a few sales folks that do know how to sell, and I think part of someone being impressed with your abilities is for you to be able to present them, not just put them down on some auto application that when one word is used, it could cause you to be rejected at that point. It's almost like when in banking, credit scores came out. I was a banker pre-credit score. I left banking after credit scores came out because they no longer needed me to use my ability to sit down and carry on a conversation with someone applying for a loan. The same's happening in the employment industry. These auto apps are rejecting people because of one skill lacking or one flaw that the computer system may determine in that individual, whereas if you were sitting down face to face, that person would have the ability to answer your questions. So that's the greatest complaint we're hearing right now. So yeah, I still tell people, I want you to have a resume. I want to be able to send it on your behalf to my client, because if I send it, they will see it and they will read it.
With your company and your clients, are there any applicants who are applying through video interviews?
More so on our upper scale recruiting for your C-level positions, because we may be bringing someone in that's out of state, and it's so much simpler and easier this day and time to schedule one of those video opportunities, whereas when that was not available, you were buying airfare, you were spending 3 or 4 days trying to make arrangements to get someone to an interview. So yeah, it has become much more popular.
And the candidate had to give up several days in doing that too previously.
Exactly, yes.
Well, Stacey, can we talk a little bit? Say I'm a business and I'm listening to what you're talking about doing, and I need help getting the right people. Do you actually help with the strategy of, okay, here's how we need to attack this, here's the things we need to do to make sure we're getting the person for the job or the position you're looking for? Is there some strategy on that end?
There's a lot of strategy, Bo. If someone simply calls us up and says, we need to hire an accountant, well, okay, we immediately want to set up a time to go meet with the decision maker who's actually going to hire this person. Are they reporting to someone else? Well, if they are, we want to see that person as well. We want to actually see the work environment so that we can communicate to the candidates what the work environment looks like. We want to understand not only how the pay is determined, but is that pay competitive, because we find a lot of our clients are wanting to hire people with modern skills, but they're wanting to pay rates back in the 80s. And we have to often help with the research that we have available to show our clients that oftentimes what they're offering in a salary range and benefits is not reasonable for the level of person that they're wanting to recruit.
So there's almost some coaching involved on the front end.
A lot. That's why we like to refer to ourselves as a strategic partner, because if I have that relationship in advance of the client having their needs, it's a lot easier for them to understand the drill, and it's not that, okay, I had to dismiss my CFO today and I need to hire one tomorrow. There's a lot that goes on between that opening occurring and the first interview even beginning.
Let's think for a minute about candidates who are applying for a job. You have dealt with many of them. What would be some of the major mistakes that you see applicants make that you would warn others against?
Well, with using us, we're at least a two-step process, because you will come into our offices and interview with our recruiters first. Then, if you meet all of the criteria that one of our clients is looking for, then we would set up the interviews at that point with our client base. The mistake that is often made in step one of the process in coming to us is not coming properly prepared and properly dressed for an interview and telling one of our recruiters, well, you're just a staffing service. I'll dress appropriately when you get me a real interview. Okay, that was the final interview right there.
They don't realize this is a real interview.
Exactly. Then we have people that will tell us one thing in the interview process, and then when we go over that with our clients and our client selects them to do an interview with, they say something completely different. So they've represented themselves one way to us, but another way to the client. And it can even be something as small as them telling us, oh, yes, I'll work a second shift position, and we tell them we have this interview available for you with a client that has a second shift opening. Well, the first thing they tell our client is when the client says, this is for a second shift position, well, do you have anything on first? And then that just completely turns the client off right there. So,
Well, one of the things, Stacey, I like, you guys have been doing this for a long time.
23 years.
23 years. And anytime we talk to somebody in here with longevity, we've seen a lot of businesses come and go, and businesses in your industry, right?
Yes.
Is there any kind of a principle, any kind of a secret to success that you would give to why you believe you guys are still doing what you're doing here today talking to us?
Well, I led into this interview with stating that Spherion is a national franchise with offices all across the United States. The neat thing about our franchise model is they allow me to be a local owner. Yes, we have what you would call the franchise cookie cutter opportunities, but they allow us to be local. They allow us to adapt to our local environment. So when I say North Georgia, I'm able to be involved in the Gainesville community, the White County community, the Jackson, and so on, because they encourage that. And when I say they allow us to be local, we make our own local pricing decisions. We decide what we want our business mix to look like. We just have to adhere to the overall program. So I tell my clients and our applicants, we get the best of both worlds. We get the backing and the strength of a national organization, but we have the compassion of local ownership that understands our community, and what we do in our market stays in Hall County.
Well, speaking of community, this comes up every time we talk. I love that. You have the big brand of the national to stand behind, but you're local. We're very specific here in our county in North Georgia. Anything, we realize that our business owners in town, they're the people that give back. And there's a lot of causes and things. Anything that you guys are really just causes dear to your heart, or things you would say are that you give back to in the community?
Oh gosh, yeah. And there's so many great causes. I wish we could do more, but right out of the gate, Three-Dimensional Life, which is a group up in the East Hall area that does a fabulous job taking boys at risk and trying to help them get back on the right track. Of course, Eagle Ranch down in South Hall County is a fabulous organization that we like to put our time and energy into. Choices Pregnancy Care Center has been one that's been very dear to my heart. Really, for the entire 23 years, I've been afforded the opportunity in the past to serve 12 years on their board. And it's just numerous. One thing we do, and if I've got time just to throw this in since you brought up local, a lot of our nonprofits are having to comply with the same human resource rules that a for-profit business does. And a lot of times in the past, they've been overlooked in that arena. We've been willing to take and help them write job descriptions, personnel policies, volunteer policies, so that they have some kind of document to protect themselves. We've reviewed policy and procedure manuals for nonprofits to help them update them for the ones that already had them. It's something we feel like that our recruiters can help with as well, that they have the expertise, but we do that pro bono for them.
Great service.
Yeah.
Well, Stacey, somebody's out there listening, and in one way, either looking for a job or needing to staff. What's the best way to connect, reach out, find out more?
Well, the best way is the old-fashioned way, and that's to walk in our office at 200 Pryor Street Southeast, right next to Lawrence Pharmacy. And you can find us on the web by going to Spherion, SPHERION.com.
Well,
That's
Stacey,
a new location for
say,
you.
yeah.
It is. We moved recently, yes.
Well, Stacey, thank you so much for the work you do in the community. And guys, check that out. I want to move on to our next guest. I'm going to tell you, he's a Georgia Bulldog fan, although today, if you could see him, he's got on a Falcon shirt. So
You can be both.
that's right. So this is Matt Pruitt with the Matt Pruitt Agency. And Matt, I know he covers all lines or all aspects of insurance. So Matt, welcome to North Georgia Business Radio.
Thank you, Bo. Good to be here.
Now, just give us the 10,000-foot view of the Matt Pruitt Agency.
So everybody in our agency, we've got over 30 years of experience in insurance, and 20 years of my experience, I worked at LexisNexis, which basically we were a consultant to all the insurance carriers out there. So I was instrumental in all carriers' decision making during at that point. And 20 years into that, I went ahead and said, you know what? I sat there and prayed about it, and I said, you know, what can I do more? And, God said, go out and teach people about insurance. What does it mean to be covered? So, we did that 4 years ago. We've got 2 locations right now, one in Flowery Branch and one in Gainesville.
Very good. Well, one of the things, man, I think there's a lot of times people don't want to talk about insurance, but let's talk about the importance of it. It truly is leveraged liability and risk protection in all these areas we talk about.
Especially in today's time. I mean, you have young drivers, you got your kids out there driving, you've got also your business liability that you have to protect. And if you don't have the right coverages, I mean, it could be one small mistake at the wheel or whatever, and at that point, you're at the discretion of another person that's going to be going after a lot of your assets.
One of the things that I think you have to overcome with potential clients is the tendency to put this off, to procrastinate, to say, well, we can't afford to do this now. That would be a big monthly deduction for us to start a policy like that. What do you do to overcome that almost universal tendency to say, we'll do it tomorrow?
Well, it's all about education. So you have to, we always influence people with current stories that we listen to every day in the office. It's very important to do things today, especially when you're talking about life insurance, okay? Especially on that aspect. The longer you wait on life insurance, every year it gets more expensive. You can't put it off. You have to just go ahead and do it today. People buy insurance on their cell phones and things like that. Go ahead and, another thing too, what's interesting about, even talking about auto insurance, carriers now rate you on the coverages you currently have today on your price. So the lower limits that you carry, the lower liability that you have on your car insurance today, they're probably going to be paying about 10 to 15% more than everybody else out there in the industry.
Now, Matt, are you running into situations, I've heard bits and pieces here and there, where they're actually scoring people differently now on how they manage a risk and how much you actually pay for insurance, different than it might have used to be?
Yes. So there's many aspects when you quote someone for insurance. So, of course, as you were talking about earlier, credit scores, that's rampant in every state, except, in California and other states like that. But your credit score is very instrumental in what price you pay for your premium for auto insurance and home insurance. Also, lapses in coverages that you have on your insurance. So your insurance history that you've had, that's very important. And again, longevity. So if you've been with a carrier for 20 years, that's fantastic. Okay, you're going to end up, when you go out and shop for your insurance, you're going to probably get a lesser rate at that point. So your insurance history, your driving record, the limit, the liability that you're currently carrying, that's very important in what kind of price you get today.
Matt, one of the things that anybody would recognize is that there's no shortage of insurance agents. So if I'm shopping for insurance and I'm considering your company, there are a lot of others that I could look at as well. So why would I choose yours?
Very good question. And here's why you'd want to choose us, is that we are old school. We don't, when you have a claim, we handle the claim inside the office. We don't sit there and say, you have to call 1-800 this carrier. We're going to handle the claim internally. We are going to manage the relationship one-on-one. And again, we're not going to send you to an 800 number. It's going to be one-on-one. When you need an agent, you're going to find me there in the office working, whereas a lot of agents are out there playing golf.
Well, that simplifies it for the customer. It also is a time saver.
Yes, definitely so.
Well, and it goes back to, even Stacey was hinting at this earlier, it goes back to you can actually, it's a relationship based, right? You might know this person, know their situation, know how to help, maybe coach them, advise them based on their specific family and situation, because that was a great thing we talked about earlier. Just like most things we talk about, there's no cookie cutter approaches to how to put these things together.
Yeah, and to put more proof in the pudding is when you go out and look at our website, you're going to see almost 400 reviews and we're a 5-star rated agent. You don't find that anywhere. I can't go out there, and any business owner can't go out there and remove just the negative reviews. So if you go out and look at our reviews that we have on our website, again, we've got almost 400 reviews, and we're a 5-star agency. So we care about people, and I just, again, I'm sort of like my dad in one aspect. He was a pharmacist at Refco for, 30 years. And he'd always go to sleep at night, or worry sometimes going to sleep at night, worrying about the customer. I'm the same way. I've got to make sure that my customers are covered, and more importantly, they understand what it is they're buying from us.
That's right. And the education, I love that that's the component, because I think a lot of times people don't get the coverage or the insurance they need because they just don't understand what they need. And sometimes taking that step. So I love that education's the approach. Well, let's talk about something, Matt, that's going to apply to almost everyone listening and everyone here. Any tips or things we should know about things like let's talk about car and home insurance.
Yeah, so there's a lot of discounts out there for auto insurance, and one thing that we do offer and what we've seen, of course, defensive driving courses and things like that are instrumental in lowering costs for auto insurance. There's a lot of different things you can make things cheaper in auto insurance. But one thing that we offer too is that, for your employees that actually drive a company vehicle and things like that for work, we understand, this is very confusing, so follow me here, but we understand that those people have to maintain a good driving record. Okay? Now, so having said that, when they do have access to those kind of vehicles at work, we offer a very good discount for that. And usually it's about 10 to 20% off of your auto insurance because, again, we know that they have to maintain that good driving record in order to continue driving those cars.
Well, and this brings up, you hear a lot commercials and things about bundling. Is that something you do? You help people put together packages that might be a better deal?
Yeah, so, basically anyone that shops, your home or auto, you should put them together. Okay, first of all, it's good because the agent can see the entire aspect of what it is they're insuring. Okay, so when you bundle your home and auto insurance, typically you're looking again at a 10 to 15% off on each one. It is actually good to put all your eggs in one basket when you have home and auto. And the people that are actually protecting their assets, that have umbrellas especially too, you never want to separate those because when let's just, for example, an umbrella policy basically gives you protection whether you're driving or while you're at home. Okay, if you have those two policies split, the umbrella doesn't know that you just bought this brand new Porsche over here at the other A agency that that's currently being insured. So again, when you separate the two policies, it causes a lot of confusion for the customer and, again, could be holes in your current insurance portfolio.
Well, speaking of the homeowner's insurance, you were telling me earlier something about there could be a big discount if I had recently put a roof on the house.
Yes, if you have if you've recently put a new roof on your home, that could save you from 20 to 40% on your premium. So we recognize that as far as it's a huge discount. Because, again, we realize, too, that most likely that roof is not going to need to be replaced for another 20 to 30 years.
We've talked, Matt, about acquiring new customers. There's another aspect I'd like your comment on, and that is continuing to educate your customers. For example, let's say that I'm a homeowner who took out a homeowner's policy with you 20 years ago. That policy should probably not be the same today. There have been so many changes in a number of ways. How do you keep your clients updated on their needs?
Very good question. At our agency, we actually we call them for an annual review on every customer. Now, of course, the customer can decline to have the review, but the main questions that we always ask, do you have any new additions to your home? Have you built any decks? Has anything changed on your home? Have you got a new roof put on your home? Even for existing customers that we have, if they put a new roof on there, that drops their premium down. If you put any kind of new, if you buy any new, wire, if you do redo the wiring in your home, that could also help in your premium for your homes too. But we stay very close contact with our customers, and we send out questionnaires to our customers. We probably, if anything, we probably over communicate, but at least they know the name of who we are and that we do care.
Well, Matt, we talked a lot about personal side of things. What about businesses? I know there's some lines there that you can help business owners with too.
Very good question, Bo. We've recently helped a lot of business owners right now, even with their health benefits cost. And we'd love to talk to business owners on how we can do that. And again, it's more for the local business owners that have anywhere from 100 employees or less. But we really do help the business owners lower cost for benefits for their employees, and also too we help improve the retention of their employees by adding the products that we have available at our agency.
Well, I didn't think about that, a retention tool.
Yes,
Very nice. Well, let's talk about that. I know that life insurance out there on the average American, the majority of it is coming from their employer.
Right.
Do we need to look beyond that?
Yes, and here's why. Let's say, for example, you've been working for a organization for 15 years. Okay, you've had life insurance, everything's great. Now you have a new job offer, and you talk to your spouse, and you say, yes, I'm going to take this job. What people don't realize is the 15 years that you had with that company, that life insurance policy most likely is not going to be available when they leave that job. Or if they do get to keep it, they're going to be re-rated at the age where they are, and usually that's going to be, could be 40 or 50 years old. And as I was saying earlier, every year you wait to get life insurance, it gets more expensive, okay? So it's always good to have a policy that you own outside of work. I urge it, and I really, that's probably my number one passion, is making sure that happens for all of our clients.
And do it before something happens, right? That's one of the things with insurance is that everybody wants the insurance after an event's occurred. Then we might not be able to get it.
Exactly. So, anything, for example, a medical issue that comes up, could be high blood pressure. I mean, you just could not believe what the premium could be before you were diagnosed with high blood pressure. As we get older, as I've gotten older, I've put on some pounds as well. And, for me to go and get a life insurance policy now at 47 is a lot different than when I was 27. And so take the time and talk, even if it's not with me, talk to your agent, get life insurance, make sure that your family's taken care of.
So somebody out there listening, these things impact all of us, everyone. We all have to deal with these things. What's the recommendation? Is it let's see if we're doing the best we can, or let's see if we need a strategy review to see what kind of risk we might be exposed to? What do you tell somebody out there listening that says maybe I could save? Is it just let's see if we can save some money, or let's see if you're protected the way you want to be? I
tell you, I'll be honest with you, and there's all kind of customers out there that first of all, their main goal is to save money. I'll be honest with you, there's been many customers that I've turned away just because they want to save money. And again, I want to sleep at night, so we have a long list of questions that we ask customers of what's going on in their life, their spouse, and their children, how old they are, before we establish what kind of coverages. And we always we start with apples to apples, but before we get to the end, I say look, I recommend you at least carry this kind of liability for the situation you're currently in.
Very good. So somebody listening that says, you know what, I might need to check on that. I might need to see if I'm doing the best I can. Might need to see if I can save a few bucks. How do they find out more or get in touch with you?
They can call. Of course, we're on Facebook. We have our own website as well, mattpruittagency.com. We've also got 2 locations, one in Flowery Branch. That phone number is 770-809-6163. We've also got one in Gainesville off of Enoda Drive, or Enoda Avenue, I should say, and that is 770-535-2472.
Well, Matt Pruitt, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Stacey Reece with Spherion Staffing and Recruiting, thanks again.
Appreciate the opportunity.
And Bill Lampton, another great show.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next week. Same time, same place, right here on North Georgia Business Radio.